I'm a traveling man. I made a lot of stops all over the world.
This is what we call the Listen and Learn concert series, and I'm Don Swartz, Southern Trace Songwriters. I'm also Vice President of KICR Radio out of Branson, Missouri, and also booking director for Roger the Wild Child Show. He's out. Actually, just moved from Scottsdale, Arizona, to Texas. So we're on hiatus for a little while on that to kick that off. But I want to welcome y'all here. I've been doing this for about 4 years now, and I appreciate the fact that being able to come in and talk to you folks, and it's very personable. You know, when we get out on the road and, you know, all the hoopla and how it sounds good, but it's work, man. You don't get to visit with anyone particular, and you got all the production going on, and it's chaos for 2 or 3 days. And it is a job, but I wouldn't trade it for the world, man. I love it. I've been doing it, well, officially since 1987, so I'm doing something right. And I'll let you know when I figure it out. But anyway, I want to introduce this young man here to you all, Mr. Billy Knight. And put your hands together for him, because again, he's a dear friend. And I reckon it's time to get started. What do you think?
I'm all set.
Kick us off, my friend. Put your hands together one more time for Billy.
Well, gosh, I don't know where to begin. You know, he started back in the 1750s, but we've only got an hour. So, actually, my ancestors came here from North Carolina and settled along the Cumberland River. They got land grants for Revolutionary War service. Both sides, my mother's side, my dad's side, they each got 400 or 500 acre farms as, you know, payment for their service. And things have just gone downhill since. You know, it's just, they've sold it off in little parcels. You know, seriously, you know, I'm honored that I have that lineage in my family. I am a member of the Sons of the American Revolution, and very proud of that. And it's a lot about patriotism. It's a lot about identity, and it's one of the things that I enjoy a lot. But there's nothing I enjoy more than good music. I did music in my early years when I was in my early teens. There was a guy named Ronnie McDowell, who is a country artist. Some of you may be familiar with him, some may not. How many would you say? Let me count, because he'll ask me. All right, yeah, that's quite a few of you. Well, I was in Ronnie's first band many years ago, and we wrote songs together and brought them to Nashville to, you know, try to interest a publisher or a label or an artist into cutting that record. And you know, we failed over and over and over until Elvis passed away. And Ronnie wrote a song, and it was the shortest song he ever wrote. I think he said he spent about 20 minutes on it. He said, when your heart's full, that's when you write the most brilliant song. And for him, it was called The King Is Gone. That went, today they call it going viral over the internet, but then we didn't have an internet. We hardly had an interstate. And that song just went all over the world in 2 days. He went from being a nobody that no one knew except the beer joints where we played to being an international interest. 2 days later, he was on the Grand Ole Opry with that song. I didn't quite get all that, but it happened. Jim Ed Brown was standing behind backstage with Ronnie, and Ronnie was just a nervous wreck. He says, I don't know what I'm going to do. And Jim Ed tries to comfort him a little bit. He says, well, Ronnie says, what is this song you've got? He said, well, he told him a little bit about it. He said, and I just don't know if I can go out there and do it. He says, I'm not even sure I can remember all the words. And Jim Ed did one of these, like, well, good luck, sons, what he said. Good luck. Well, the rest is history from that. Ronnie went on to separate himself from the Elvis image. Of course, he had all of those years of the movies for Priscilla Presley and her ABC TV movies. He did all the recordings that Elvis didn't have on recording. He produced all those songs that she wanted in the movie but couldn't because they didn't exist. Well, a lot of that about this and that, but Ronnie's a good friend, and I still see him from time to time. Sometimes I'll take artists that are coming along, young artists, that just want to get a little exposure and meet him and talk to him and hope they get something profitable out of it. Did you? I got one in the room here that went. I guess what this boils down to, I'm going to entertain you a little bit with some music, and I'm going to have another person come up shortly and do the same thing and tell her story. But my story is this. When Ronnie decided, when this hit record came along, and I had to decide for myself, which way should my life flow. And I had the choice of either moving out of town to go to school or stay with Ronnie. And I knew that my future his success wouldn't necessarily be my success. So I went to school. And it was still the best choice for me. I think I still came out better. I became an engineer and I was a human resource director for many years and worked in some crazy places. Been all over the world working as an engineer. And I found that corporate life stinks. Politics, the things that you have to do to survive in the corporate world is terrible sometimes. And not every one of them are like that, but most of them are. And so when I retired, I was never happier in my life to be retired, but then I had to say to myself, now what? Because I was driving my wife crazy. And she said, well, you need to find something to do. And I said, well, that's a good thought. I'll see you later. Well, where are you going? I'm going to the music store. I'll be back later. Well, I came back and I had a bunch of stuff. Well, that's where it got started. So, I decided, well, what would I like to do and who would I like to do it for? And I concluded that I should do the things that I love most, the songs that I love most, and that's what I do. That period from 1958 to 75, the classic rock years, from the Beatles to Buddy Holly to all of those. And I love every one of them. I love the songs that they do. And I just cherry pick what I want to do. And I learn it to some extent. And I'll go out and play it for somewhere. I go to an open mic once a week at least, either at Fox and Lock or somewhere. I'm somewhere every week. They would say, you have one of those ubiquitous faces. I didn't know what that meant. I had to go home and look it up. It's just a common face. But I love doing what I do. And I decided that the people I want to do it for, they shared my interest in that type of music. So I worked pretty hard at getting myself back together, getting my chops back together. And when I started, it was awful. I was like, have I forgotten everything? I pulled an old Gibson B20 that I had when I played with Ronnie. And it had been in the closet for 35, 40 years. I just hadn't, just too busy. I had kids and, family, job, and running all over the place. No time for things like music. And when I hit that guitar, it sounded horrible. And that sort of epitomized my start. It was like plunk, 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 plunk. And it was like, well, that sounded pretty good. It's kind of like something like that. So I had to realize that, before you play for anybody, you need to be able to do something to a decent level. So I got back with some friends of mine that were music people, and one in particular was a guy named Denny Sorokin. And Denny, he was one of two people that started the group Every Mother's Son. And I don't know if any of you can recall that group because they didn't have that many hits, but they had some major ones that did hit. One called Come On Down to My Boat Baby. It was one of the first bubblegum rock tunes that hit the market. And and he was from Brooklyn, and he and his brother started this band. And they were one of the few people or few groups that didn't have, long hair and, wearing clothes that were torn apart and all tatted up and everything. They had this clean cut image, and they didn't last very long. They went with the crowd the next year, and then the songs went up.
Called the Beatles.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, they actually came 3 years after the Beatles, but if you heard the song, you would recognize what I'm talking about. But anyway, Denny got with me, and he said, "Well, let me hear you do something," and I did what I did, and I don't really want to talk about that day, but it happened, and he said, "Well, we got a lot of work to do," and set about doing it, and 5 years later, or no, 7 years later, I am where I am today. Every day is a day of progress. Now, the music in itself is wonderful. It's a beautiful thing. But the greatest enrichment of all is the people that I meet in, doing these various things. People with a British accent, their IQ in the opinion of other people goes up about 40 points just because of the British accent, It's just a common thing. And I wish I had one, but I don't. You hear the way I talk. And I have gray hair. Well, at these open mics, these young people come here from all over the world, even from Maryland, and, they're looking for their opportunity to make it in country music here. And I guess because of my gray hair, and if I had a British accent, maybe that too, that they think that I know more than I actually do. So I will get questions about what is the formula? How do you get started in this business? Who do you give me the formula, the roadmap. And I didn't know what to tell them to begin with, but over a period of 7 years, you keep getting asked these things, and then you learn. And I tell them there is no formula. What you got to have is a music that people want to hear. People will pay to hear. And it has to be original music. Excuse me. Because the worth of music is not any better than what the person is willing to pay to hear it. And every time I get up in front of people, my mouth goes dry. So it's a direct correlation. So, some of these kids would come to me, and I would see such great promise in them. I'd say, well, I'll do what I can to help them. And in the beginning, there was not much I could do. And even today, there's not a whole lot I can do, but there's things that I could do. And the first thing is to recognize their talent. And secondly, give them some encouragement, but don't lie to them. Just tell them the truth. I don't discourage anybody that comes to me and asks for help. It's kind of gotten to where, by rumor or whatever, I'm a person you can come to get some help. If you're there, you don't know anybody, you don't know anything, you just would like to help somebody give you some help here, because home's a long way away and they just don't know who to turn to. And so I work with them, and I do various things with various people, depending on where their need is. Sometimes they don't really need any kind of music help. They're way ahead of me. But maybe they just need some fatherly or grandfatherly advice about how to approach what they're doing. And I tell them everything starts with a plan. And everything starts with the truth, and everything starts with being realistic. And Some of them I take on at a deeper level. You know, it can go anywhere from 2 conversations or 3, all the way up to people I've worked with 5 or 6 years now. And with each of them, I've just come to know them very close and appreciate who they are. In fact, you'll get to meet one here shortly. And understand what it is that brought them to music. And these are the people that I feel like have the talent, but most of all, the fire in their gut that it takes to make it in this business in this town. It is not easy. Out of the thousands and thousands that come here, a handful ever make it. A handful ever get put in front of a microphone in a studio around here. So to say that, just put on your Stetson and your cowboy boots and come to Nashville with your guitar and people are just going to fall all over you, it ain't going to happen. I'm sorry to tell you, I don't really care how much talent you have. It just doesn't happen bing, bang, boom. It happens through a long, drawn-out process. And Don will tell you this. He's been around this business for many years. Alan Jackson came to this town, I think, the early 90s? Late 80s. It took him 10 years from the time he got here to the time he finally got a hit song, I think.
Just the same years that I was really, when I left the airport and went into the music, Naomi, Wyman, and all of them.
Yeah.
Anyway, my point is that it was Garth Brooks, Clint Black, Reba McEntire, Travis Tritt, all of them came out relatively close together at the time. And they struggled, Randy Travis and anyway, they struggled. It was a long, hard road.
Yeah, any of them will tell you that it wasn't easy. It takes a lot of fire in your gut. And I'm sorry if that's crude, but that's what it is. If I don't see that fire in their gut, I withdraw from them because I know they're headed for disappointment. I don't discourage them, but I know it's not going anywhere, and I don't try to push them into it. They have to make their own decisions. They all make their own decisions. But if I stand there and continue to hold their hand and, I'm just helping them batter their head against the wall. I'd like to at some point make a decision to withdraw. And sometimes I withdraw even if I see they're going somewhere, because the best thing I can do is get out of the way, because they are handed off to, say, somebody with a lot more resources and experience in the industry. And I know that they can do more for them. And the best thing I can do is step back and get out of the way. And man, I'm a big cheerleader. I'll stay in there for that. I'll have a seat on the bus, as they say, of the journey. But I am not going to stand in the way of that person's progress out of selfish reasons. That is not what I do. I learned from doing this that this is the greatest joy of what I do. Just the satisfaction of seeing week to week or month to month how these young people progress. To watch them knock these barriers down that I know were there in front of them when they started. Because no matter what happens is they're going to do what they do. What they accomplish, they will accomplish on their own. The only thing you can do is to help them with obstacles. Help remove obstacles, possibly. But to be an artist, it's on them. That's where the rubber meets the road. And if they don't have the talent, they don't have the fire. It doesn't happen. But for me, it's a great satisfaction to sit back. I've got 3 right now in mind that I know are going to do extremely well, including a young lady here tonight. 3 performers that will just blow your socks off to hear them perform. And being able to be a part of that is so gratifying, so enriching in my life. What I spend in money, which, I don't really even keep up with it. Or what I spend in time, I don't keep score with that. Or I don't keep score with what they do for me versus what I do for them. It all works out. It all shakes out in the end. And and the day comes where I can't be that way, then I don't want to do it. I want to do this from the heart. And I think that's one success I've had. And I call it living outside yourself. Everybody has a need to succeed at something. Some people work so hard to be recognized. Recognition to me is meaningless, for my personal recognition. I prefer to be a worker bee in something that is recognized. I don't want to be the front for an effort or an outcome. I just want to be someone that contributes. Help to, if the bus I'm riding has a flat, I can get out and change the tire, right? I want to be that person. And but living outside yourself, so many people when they retire, the first thing that happens, they get depressed because they no longer have that fulfillment of work or whatever it is they were doing. Their life is dull and becomes kind of meaningless, and there's only so much TV you can watch before it just really becomes a monster. And you don't have another hobby, so what happens to you? You just kind of drift and you float. But living outside yourself and identifying something you can do, such as what I've done, it gives you purpose. And it gives you meaningful purpose. It gives you a means to motivate yourself to get up in the morning and, you're ready for the day, because what you do, you just never know what surprises you're going to have. And I can tell you, I've never been happier in my life than doing this. As I said, working in the corporate world, I was a vice president. I was an engineer. I had all these titles. I had all this recognition. I had these, $25 million budgets and all this kind of stuff that people think, well, that's a great success. Well, I don't think so. I think the little things that I do now mean more because it has meant so much to the other people that I do this for. So I know y'all are probably sick of hearing me talk, but I just very much want to make that impression upon you that music can be such an enriching thing for you if all you do is music, if all you do is maybe dabble in songwriting or become a serious songwriter. All of these things, anybody can do some kind of music, believe it or not. You can be tone deaf. I can show you how to do something. That's what the percussion guy is. Maybe the most tone deaf person in the world, but they've got a rhythm. So you just pick what you want and become what you want. But you got to be deliberate. You sit down after retirement and you have to be deliberate. Just like with the young people, you have to have a plan. And you have to go after it with that plan. And a plan is nothing more than a place to start. The plan changes as things evolve. And as you find that you find joy in these things, you're going to expand it. I know I have. I have to watch what I'm doing because the next thing I know, I'm double booked everywhere and doing so many different things that I don't know whether I'm going or coming. And then I get into trouble. I'm the world's worst about awareness of time. Like right now, we are 20 minutes into this. I want to get Alyssa up here shortly, but I just want to do a few songs for you and maybe talk to you a little bit about music, and then I want to bring her up because she has to leave at a certain time, and I don't want to delay her because she's going to something very important. Okay, first song. Rick Nelson is probably my absolute favorite artist of all time. I love the Beatles music. I loved Elvis. I grew up with Elvis playing the background music. If they were making a movie about me, it'd be Elvis in the background. I love Patsy Cline. I love all kinds of stuff like that. But Rick Nelson had a swagger about him that I admired from the time I was just a tyke. You know, the first time I ever heard him do a song called Traveling Man, I was maybe 5 or 6 years old. And my mother told me later, she said, you know, you were glued to the TV the whole time. I was standing there probably, I don't know if I was still in diapers or not, but, you know, I was about that young. If I was still in diapers at that age, I probably shouldn't have been, but well, that's too much information. But I was just enamored with Rick Nelson's a whole delivery. Of course, he had, you know, one of the greatest guitar players that ever lived. What was his name? I know it. Yeah, James Burton. I had to think a minute. Playing for him, and then he played for Elvis after that.
Denny Sorokin, our friend that you were talking about, took James Burton's place.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, we was talking about the guy that I went to really get my music chops back together, and I'm still a work in progress. But Denny Sorokin, he was the lead guitar for Rick Nelson. He took James Burton's place, and Denny lives here in Nashville. In fact, he's done this program before a few years ago. I do this all the time. I start out thinking, I'll do it in that key, but no, I think I'll do it in a little bit higher. Well, I don't know. I'll go back to that key. I'm a traveling man. I made a lot of stops all over the world, and in every port I own the heart of at least one lovely girl. I've a pretty senorita waiting for me down in old Mexico. If you're ever in Alaska, stop and see my cute little Eskimo. My sweet Fraulein down in Berlin town makes my heart start to yearn, and my China doll down in old Hong Kong waits for my return. Pretty Polynesian baby over the sea, I remember the night that we walked in the sands of Waikiki, and I held you oh so tight. Oh, my sweet Fraulein down in Berlin town makes my heart start to yearn, and my China doll down in old Hong Kong waits for my return. Pretty Polynesian baby over the sea, I remember the night that we walked in the sands of Waikiki, and I held you oh so tight. Oh, I'm a traveling man. Yeah, I'm a traveling man. Yes, I'm a traveling man. Rick Nelson, 1960. He debuted that song on the Ozzie and Harriet show. I don't think some of you folks are my age, but you probably saw that when it originally debuted in 1960. And that was what, of course, gave Rick his start in the music business. And, of course, he spans, several decades up until this plane accident that happened, which was tragic. His sons actually live here in Nashville now. He's got twin boys, Gunnar and Matthew. And they formed their group called Nelson, and had that going for many years. I guess it's still going. I met Gunnar and his daughter Katie. She's a sweetheart. Just very cool family. And the background and getting to learn a little bit about more about Rick and his background, where it all started from. I'm not surprised that he became an international star. He came out, and of course, about the same time he came out, Elvis came out. competition. You talk about competition. And then in '64, shortly after, Elvis and Rick were looking at each other saying, who are these Beatles? It is a fleeting life for a music artist sometimes. They go like this, and the flash in the pan, they hit a trajectory very steep upward, and then the next thing you know, you don't hear about them anymore. And that's tragic, but it happens. The enduring ones that really impress me are people like Dolly. That lady is a music machine. I just love to listen to her talk. She is so motivating. I'd vote for her for president. And do it sober. She's just a remarkable individual, remarkable person. The thing that sets her apart from a lot of the music people is her humanity. That lady amazed me when Gatlinburg got practically burned to the ground. Any family up there that wanted help, she gave them $1,000 a month till they got back on their feet. I think it was like maybe a year, 6 months, a year, or until they didn't need it anymore. Now, who has ever done anything like that? It's just unprecedented. Besides the federal government, there's no individual that does that kind of stuff. She grew up poor, and part of her history is that her family was largely, a lot of them were uneducated, didn't have much educational opportunity. What does she do? Well, she starts this book thing for kids. And now these books are reaching kids all over the world. Now she has some resources. I gotta say, she does have something to work with. A new artist won't have that, but you gotta have a Dolly heart if you want to be a Dolly person, in my mind. But that's my speech. I guess I'd do another song, huh? I'm getting the eye from Don, the fish eye. I know. I hate to be so wishy-washy about this. I'm going to do a song that is a Brooks and Dunn favorite. How many of you in here are Brooks and Dunn fans? Of course, yeah, there's a bunch of you. Well, I love the song My Maria, but you know what? I'm not going to do it. I can't. When it comes to that really high falsetto that Ronnie Dunn does, I love it, and I wish I could do it, but I'll have to do Neon Moon. I'm sorry to disappoint you. When the sun goes down on my side of town, a lonesome feeling comes to my door, turns my world blue. There's a rundown bar across the railroad tracks, got a table for two, way in back where I sit alone and think of losing you. I spend most every night beneath the light of a neon moon. If you lose your one and only, there's always room here for the lonely to watch your broken dreams dancing in and out of the beams of a neon moon. I see two young lovers running wild and free, and in my mind I can see through in the shadows of the smoke-filled room. No telling how many tears I sit here and cry, or how many lies that I've lied telling my poor heart she'll come back someday. Oh, I'll be alright as long as there's light from a neon moon. If you lose your one and only, there's always room here for the lonely to watch your broken dreams dancing in and out of the beams of a neon moon. The jukebox plays on drink by drink, and the words of every sad song seem to say what I think. This hurt inside of me ain't never gonna end. Oh, I'll be alright as long as there's light from a neon moon. If you lose your one and only, there's always room here for the lonely to watch your broken dreams dancing in and out of the beams of a neon moon. To watch your broken dreams dancing in and out of the beams of a neon moon. That was actually not the entire song. Yeah, for her, yeah. Oh, okay. All right, so let's shift gears a little bit. Folk music, bluegrass, I dabble in all of it. I'd rather do a whole lot of different things not that well than to do one thing so great. You know, people look at me like I'm crazy when I say that, but just to experience the whole variety of genres like that is a lot more fulfilling than sticking with bluegrass music. And all you do is go to bluegrass conventions. I love it, but I don't love it that much. So I'm going to do, a cornball song by the Dillards. Can anybody guess who I'm talking about or what I might be about to do?
There was a time.
No. I got to say no.
I should have put him on.
No, a little more upbeat. The Dillards were a group that played on the Andy Griffith Show. A lot of what I learned about life, I learned from the Andy Griffith Show. I've heard people say that, and I think to myself, just because I know every episode, I know how many episodes, how many were color and how many were black and white, and I can sit there and almost recite, the lyric, what do you call it, the back and forth lines. Yeah, I can. Doesn't make me a fan of it necessarily. I'm just like the show.
What was it, Ernest T. Bass?
Yeah.
He said, I love you, Rowena.
My Rowena. But anyway, the Dillards, Denver Powell as Briscoe Darling, he sold that character so well, as he does with every character he ever did. Now, bluegrass, they run it at breakneck speeds. I can't keep up with that, but we'll put the pedal to the metal. Dooley was a good old man, he lived below the mill. Dooley had 2 daughters and a 40-gallon still. One gal watched the boiler, the other watched the spout. Mama corked the bottles and old Dooley fetch 'em out. Dooley slipping up a holler, Dooley trying to make $1. Dooley, give me a swallow and I'll pay you back someday. The revenuers came for him, slipping through the woods. Dooley stayed behind them all and never lost his goods. Dooley was a trader, when into town he'd come. Sugar by the bushel and molasses by the drum. Dooley slipping up a holler, Dooley trying to make $1. Dooley, give me a swallow and I'll pay you back someday. Now this is where you have a banjo break, but I don't have a banjo player. Well, I remember very well the day old Dooley died. The women folk looked sorry and the men stood around and cried. Now Dooley's on the mountain, we lie there all alone. They put a jug beside him and a barrel for a stone. Dooley slipping up a holler, Dooley trying to make $1. Dooley, give me a swallow and I'll pay you back someday. I'll pay you back someday. Dooley. My wife says, why do you do that kind of song? I said, I just love it, you know. Okay, now, this is my great pleasure to bring up a young lady that I met a year or two ago. I never saw her before. She was on stage at an open mic near here. And I was sitting at one of the tables in the front, right in front of the stage, but I had my back to the stage. And I was eating something, a burger or something. And this girl was up there trying to play a guitar, and she was really struggling with it. But I heard this most angelic voice. I mean, it just riveted me to hear the quality of voice that she had. I dropped my burger in the floor and turned around and looked, and this young lady, Alyssa, who's I'm going to ask to come up right now, this is the young lady that made me drop my burger. Yeah. Now, plug in her guitar there. Now, Alyssa, she's actually now my goddaughter. I've already put in an application with her dad, and he signed off on it. He says, I'm good. And even she's gone along with it, just...
Why not?
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah, it does. Excuse me. I'm getting emotional now. I gotta have some water. Alyssa undoubtedly is, from an entire package standpoint, the most likely of all that I've seen in the 7 or 8 years I've been doing this, new talent that's come along that I think is going to break the door open and defy the odds. And I hope you're not the last, but I'm going to be very proud of you to see you do it. I know you're going to do it. I just have no doubt that this will happen for her. Of course, music business is like corporations. There's a lot of bad blood and evil in it, and people that are in it that shouldn't be in it. But there are some good people too. And I think you're going to be one of them.
Thank you, Bill.
Very, very soon. So I'm going to shut up and let you hear something really fabulous. We play this open mic not far from here called, it's now called Fox and Lock. It was Puckett's for many years out in Leapers Fork.
Yep.
It's a great open mic and learn a lot of things and meet a lot of people. Some of the most interesting people I've met have come from there, you being one. Yeah, but this is a tough venue to play because the noise is awful. You cannot keep pitch without being able to hear yourself. And the floor monitors can only do so much. And I have a hearing deficit that I probably shouldn't even be playing that place, but I do. I just can't stand it. I don't care if they don't like it. I don't care if I do that well. I just love to do it. So I'm going to shut up and let you talk about who you are and what you're doing. I might even move away a little bit just so I'm not tempted to step in. I'll do that.
My name is Alyssa Flaherty. I'm 19 years old, and I'm from Annapolis, Maryland, and my mom's sitting right there. My whole family moved to Nashville exactly 3 years ago this month for me to do music. And so we moved March 2020, March 12th, and everything shut down the next day. So we were kind of like, oh my gosh, like we're like in zombie land. We don't know anybody. Like we're in a hotel waiting for our house to get, some things worked on. But I finished high school and didn't really do too much with music when I was here my first year, because I was just like, I want to get school over with and then kind of dedicate my time to music once I graduate. So after I graduated, my mom one day was like, it was like August, end of the summer. She's like, we gotta do something. Like you gotta go out and do what you love and do what we moved here for you to do. And no one in my family does music either. So they were kind of like, this is like your train and we can't lead it. Like we got to go do something, like find that fire that you've always had. And we went to Fox and Lock in Leapers Fork on a Thursday night for an open mic night. And my dad and I were kind of like, we're going out in the middle of the nowhere. Like, are you sure this is really like, why do we want to go here? We should be going like downtown. But little did we know that that place kind of opened doors in my life in every single aspect. Music connections. I met Billy that night, like last August, or last end of August, beginning of September. And I met every single one of my friends now that honestly aren't even probably music related, but just so many amazing people, and just people that I kind of was like, all right, God, like, bring me those good people when it's the right time. And he definitely did that. So I'm just so thankful for that place. So I love that you kind of talked about it a little bit, because it's
I'm going to
so
breach what I
important.
said. When I said she struggled with her guitar, she has turned that 360.
Yeah, I could
Well,
not play. I
180.
could not play.
I'll get my junior.
I started playing last December.
Yeah.
And it's kind of been my whole focus this past year. And now this year I'm like on to songwriting. Got to tackle that third little wheel. Got to start spinning it. But it's been a very fun year, just honestly learning myself as a musician and what I want to say and what I want to do. I'm young, but I don't really have all the time in the world, as music is a very age-demanding business as well. But I'm just really excited. I'm excited for this year. I'm excited to keep writing. And that's kind of where my focus is at right now, is just getting the songs, getting what I want to say and who I am, and just playing as much as I can, wherever I can. But it's been so much fun. I just love it. I love
Now,
it so much.
A year ago, when I said, to be a credible artist, you have to be a writer.
Oh, yeah.
And what did you do?
I was like, oh, are you sure? Like,
Yeah,
I can't just sing and play. Like, he's like, no, you need the songs too, Alyssa. I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, that was a hard one for you to swallow at first.
For sure.
But now,
It was overwhelming. There's so
Now-
much you have to do and learn and master, and it's not easy. It's not easy, and people make it look really easy. Like, you watch Dolly and you're like, wow, she just makes it look so easy. Little do you know, she's like absolutely brilliant. So it's just really
and now
it's
you're
taxing, but
you're,
it's really cool.
You're writing these brilliant songs.
Oh, thanks.
I am flabbergasted every time. She goes away a week, and it's like, she's 10 steps ahead of where she was a week ago.
Oh, thanks, Billy.
Where you were a year ago to where you are now is 4 quantums.
Oh my God, thank you.
From your guitar playing, I mean, you play better than I do. And I've been at this most of my life, and
Thank you.
it makes me a little
It's a
sad.
lot of concentration. Got a little sad.
But your songwriting is as good as any that I have seen, and I'm just anxious for the folks to hear it.
Thank you, Billy. All right, I'm going to do a cover that I love real quick before I do an original. Is this plugged in or no?
It should be.
Does it sound like it is?
You volume it up.
Maybe a little.
No, it's not. I unplugged it because I didn't want it to ground.
Alyssa, shh.
Now hit it.
Alyssa, shh. There we go.
Can you hear it now?
Well, you've come to tell me something. You say I ought to know that he don't love me anymore, and I'll have to let him go. Well, you say you're gonna take him, oh, but I don't think you can, because you ain't woman enough to take my man. Women like you are a dime a dozen, you can buy 'em anywhere. For you to get to him, I'd have to move over, and I'm gonna stand right here. Well, it'll be over my dead body, so get out while you can, and 'cause you ain't woman enough to take my man. Sometimes a man's caught looking at things that he don't need. He took a second look at you, but he's in love with me. Well, I don't know where that leads you, oh, but I know where I stand, because you ain't woman take my man. Women like you are a dime a dozen, you can buy 'em anywhere. For you to get to him, I'd have to move over, and I'm gonna stand right here. Well, it'll be over my dead body, so get out while you can. 'Cause you ain't woman enough to take my man. I know you ain't woman enough to take my man. Thank you.
Do me one favor.
Yeah.
Even if it's just part of it. Do blue for them.
My mom was like, "Are you gonna do that one?"
I gotta have blue. Blue, Leanne Rhymes, you kind of remind me of her, of your voice, and
I love her.
your whole image is kind of Leanne Rhymes vibe. But you know what I said about that. You got to be you,
Yeah,
and
for
you're going to
sure.
be you.
This is, people always ask, like, what's your favorite song to sing? I'm like, this is probably the most fun song vocally, just because it has a little yodel in it, and that's fun to do. So this song is called Blue. Now that it's over, I realize those weak words you whispered were nothing but lies. Ooh, oh, so lonesome for you. Why can't you be blue over me? Why can't you be blue over me? Thank you.
Now, you just don't get that every day.
Well, maybe. All right, I'm gonna do an original song. A little pick down real quick. So I wrote this song. I just started writing truly this past January, and it was something that was very overwhelming to me because I was like, this town and this city is full of just incredible songwriters that are just absolutely brilliant and have been doing it for decades and decades. And it's like, how the heck do you even try to conquer that and do it okay and kind of good, where people are like, yeah, I like that. So it was just very overwhelming. But I started reading a little songwriting book, and it was like 6 steps of songwriting, and I'm like, oh gosh, my mom bought it for me like a few years ago, and I was like, I'm not reading that. Like, why would I do that? Like, so stubborn for absolutely no reason.
Really?
And finally, and I didn't play guitar at the time, so I'm like, well, I don't even need that yet. Like, I don't even know how to play, so how am I supposed to write a song? I was very stubborn for no reason at all, and I'm eating my words right now, so sorry, Mom. But
It tastes good.
So after a year of working on guitar, I kind of decided, like, all right, I had a serious conversation with a mentor of mine, and he was like, this, like, you gotta songwrite, and you have to be really good at it. And I was like, you're right, that's exactly what I need to do. So I broke out my little songwriting book that was in my closet, stacked under probably years of books and stuff that I had in there. And I read the first chapter, and I wrote like 5 songs that week, or whatever, 3 songs that week. And my parents were like, what just happened? Like, how did this happen? And I was like, oh, I just started writing. I started reading my songwriting book, so thanks for buying it for me. And so I wrote this song, and when I was writing it, I honestly didn't really know. I'm 19, so I've never been married, thank God, not yet. But I wrote this song, and it kind of was about a marriage. And I do think that there's parts of it, though, that you can kind of apply to, whether it's a job or your life or just a relationship. And it's called Meant to Do. So I hope y'all enjoy. Maybe it's time to quit the fight. Maybe it's time to quit a vice. Maybe it's time to say you're right. Maybe it's time to say goodbye. All the things you wish you did, looking back you blew it. All the times you wish you said I'm sorry, but you couldn't. You've been running round in circles, trying to pay the bills. You've been losing sleep and losing time, fighting all your battles. You've been bruised, but you ain't broken. You say, baby, let's push through, because loving you is all I know I was meant to do. Maybe this time you'll get it right. You start picking up the pieces tonight. You can't just say what you're gonna do, or else you know what'll follow you. All the things you wish you did, looking back you blew it. All the times you wish you said I'm sorry, but you couldn't. You've been running round in circles, trying to pay the bills. You've been losing sleep and losing time, fighting all your battles. You've been bruised, but you ain't broken. You say, baby, let's push through, because loving you is all I know I was meant to do. All the things you wish you did, looking back you blew it. All the times you wish you said I'm sorry, but you couldn't. You've been running round in circles, trying to pay the bills. You've been losing sleep and losing time, fighting all your battles. You've been bruised, but you ain't broken. You say, baby, let's push through, because loving you is all I know I was meant to do. Loving you is all I know I was meant to do. Thank you.
Incredible.
All right, I'm going to do another. What time is it?
You got time.
I don't want to.
If they have to wait on you, you got time.
So this is the first song I wrote by myself, and that was a very big accomplishment for me, just because I just started writing. So I was like, this is scary, and it was right after Christmas, and I sat down and I was like, okay, I read like a chapter of the book, and I was like, all right, I gotta just write a song. I gotta do it. I just gotta kick one out, and then I got one done. I accomplished one, and then we can move on to the next. And so I went upstairs and I sat down and I was like, what's something that's very me? And so I love to shop. I love to shop too much. And I get in trouble for it because I look for my Amazon package every day at the doorstep because I'm like, oh, what came today? Like, can't wait. And so I wrote this song and it's called Shopping. So if you like to shop or your wife likes to shop, this is her song. I've got a vice that comes with a price, and I've got a fix I can't seem to kick. I need some help, but the things on the shelf just keep on calling me, and I just give in. Now my total is $40 I don't have to give for another shirt I ain't really gonna wear. And now I think I'm gonna get a coffee to forget all the damage I've done. Man, shopping is fun. I have to admit I'm not proud of it, but Mama trained me well. Honey, please don't tell, and hide the back so we can take him past Daddy. What a fun little game I still like to play. And now my total is $40 I don't have to give for another shirt I ain't really gonna wear. And now I think I'm gonna get a coffee to forget all the damage I've done. Man, shopping is fun. It don't matter what I have to save up for. Things just keep popping up at my door, but I can no longer hide. Then my total is $80 I don't have to give for a few more shirts I ain't ever gonna wear. I still think I'm gonna get a coffee to forget all the damage I've done. Man, shopping is fun. Oh, the damage I've done, because shopping is fun. Thank you.
Well, you've already got the props for your music video, right? Yeah.
I do. Billy said you already have the props for your music video.
I can just see it all piled up on the...
Oh God, we don't want to see that. We don't want to see my closet either. It's not organized.
You just got one closet?
Oh no, I filled out the guest bedroom closet. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Oh,
I didn't know if you'd admit that.
You have to be honest here, right? Okay.
Right. Honesty is important.
So I am in a long distance relationship, and I wrote this song right before Valentine's Day, and we always kind of play phone tag with each other because we're like, all right, I'm going to call you at this time, and then I'm like, well, I'm here, and then it's all over the place. He's an athlete, and so I wrote this song, and it's called Hung Up. So I hope y'all enjoy.
Hung up.
I promised myself as soon as this all began that my heart ain't for sale, but baby, you got me thinking. And I promised myself I wouldn't do all this again. But you got me feeling that this ain't just pretend. So next time that you pick up the phone, I need you to know this may be brand new, but I know it ain't luck. I might even call it love. You came out of the blue, I want you like a drug. Can't seem to get enough. God, I hope this call goes through, so next time that we hang up, you'll know that I'm hung up on you. When I met you, I thought you were too good to be true. It turns out the best ones tend to wear cowboy boots. And when I met you, I prayed we would see this through. Now I'm counting down hours till I get to stop missing you. So next time that you pick up the phone, I need you to know this may be brand new, but I know it ain't luck. I might even call it love. You came out of the blue, I want you like a drug. Can't seem to get enough. God, I hope this call goes through, so next time that we hang up, you'll know that I'm hung up on you. No, this ain't a message for the tone, so next time that you pick up the phone, I need you to know this may be brand new, but I know it ain't luck. I might even call it love. You came out of the blue, I want you like a drug. Can't seem to get enough. God, I hope this call goes through, so next time that we hang up, you'll know that I'm hung up on you. So next time that we hang up, you'll know that I'm hung up on you. Thank you.
You want to do one more song for us?
Well, I was just going to ask you what would be.
One more song, then, because it's about 7:15.
I know one more, but what?
Oh, well, no, whatever you choose. I like everything you do, it's fine. What do you think about that young lady, for real, Alyssa? Yeah, absolutely. She's a very talented young lady, got a good head on her shoulders. I work with a lot of young ones, and a lot of them want everything now. It is a business. It's fun, but it is a business, and you have to understand that from the get-go, or it'll bury you. Statistically, 100,000 musicians, artists, writers come through Nashville yearly. 3 make it. So if you understand how tough, kind of gives you an idea of just how crazy the industry is. But she's got a good head on shoulders. She's got a good support system. Her mom, Billy, and myself, of course.
Yeah.
So good chance. Good shot.
That's one of the things that I try to impart upon these young people, because if they're very good, the first thing that's going to happen is that people are going to start pushing contracts in front of them.
Yeah.
Now, I don't do contracts because I don't want anything from them. They start pushing paper under your nose, that tells you something to begin with. And these contracts that they're offered very often are called a 360, and they're terrible.
Well, the industry's changed. It's changed. It changes daily, actually. It has changed so much. Back in my early days, I was knocking on the labels' doors and meeting Garth and everybody else, and Joe Bob Barnhill, MCA Records, and so we're knocking on the door, and you could do that then. Now it's the labels. Then they would pick you up, put you on. You'd be the bottom of the totem pole, but they sign you to keep you from signing somewhere with someone else. Now it's pretty much they want you to put your money into yourself, and when you reach a certain level of views and performances and that, then they come knocking on your door. Well, honestly, by the time that occurs, and if you have any success, you don't need the label. So it's an interesting thing today. That's why there's so many independent artists, and I support them. I mean, like I said, my company's Southern Trace Songwriters. I'm about original material. I'm a BMI publisher. But, you know, these kids, these young, and not, I say kids, you know, there's some folks that are 40 and 50 years old just sit down and realize that they had a talent to write, you know. Write your thoughts. Write it down. That's all it is. But anyway, Billy, if you'll do one more song for us, and we'll call it an evening. Appreciate you all coming out. Seriously, it's been great. It's been a while for me since last fall, and it feels good. It feels good to be back out. So, what do you got for us?
Oh, Jesus, I'm really struggling a little bit. You know, there's one song, it's Sammy Kershaw. You remember him? He had a sense of humor. I love that guy's sense of humor. And he had these music videos out with some songs that, this was making fun of himself, which is, you know, usually the best thing to write about. He had a song called I Made Her the Queen of My Double Wide Trailer. You remember that? So cute. I thought maybe I'd just give you that as a parting thought. You know, anything you do, go at it with first a sense of humor, and then that'll make the outcome much better.
Life's too short, man. Absolutely.
If I've got it. And I do.
He built it all up and he's got it now fighting. There's a sense of humor for you.
Yeah, tell them, oh yeah, you know that Beatles song? Well, we're not going to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Kind of like There Was a Time.
That, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. I met her out at Murphy's restaurant. She said she was fresh from the farm. And I remember thinking for a country girl that she went pretty well armed. We sat over by the lobster tank. I ordered her a slow gin fizz. And when the chicken fried steaks arrived, she said, I like living like this. So I made her the queen of my double wide trailer with the polyester curtains and the redwood deck. Sometimes she runs and I gotta trail her, dang her black heart and her pretty red neck. A few days later I ran into her with some stranger on a park bench. She said he rebuilds engines and his name is Earl. He's a Charlie Daniels of the torque wrench. I said, honey, let's just go on home, have some onion rings and watch TV. And as I was walking her to the truck, Earl was crying, don't you leave me. So I made her the queen of my double wide trailer with the polyester curtains and the redwood deck. Sometimes she runs and I gotta trail her, dang her black heart and her pretty red neck. She's a queen, she's a queen, she's a queen. Oh, those little fun songs, you know. I write parodies, and I hurt people's feelings sometimes because it's a song that they was near and dear to, and so it doesn't go very far. So, you know, if I offend anybody, I don't want to do that. So, but sometimes, you know, you can write something that's cute and funny, and people go for it.
Yeah, that's
But you got to be careful.
Yeah. I want to thank Williamson County Public Television for coming out tonight.
Yeah, it's kind of
Thank
cool
you.
being on TV.
Yeah, there you go. And again, I want to thank you all very much for coming out. And as I finish up all the shows, I say I'm Don, I'm done. Y'all have safe travels and have a good night.
I'm a traveling man, I made a lot of stops all over the world.